The void of space was a canvas of infinite black, now splattered with the fire of dying stars. Commander Eva Rostova's knuckles were white on the controls of her battered fighter, the Starfire. Ahead, the orbital defense platform Aegis 7 was a dying giant, its hull breached in a dozen places, life support systems failing, weapon batteries firing sporadically. The enemy, the Xythar Collective, were a tide of biomechanical horrors, their ships like leviathans of chitin and pulsating muscle, firing beams of corrosive green energy that melted hull plating like wax. Eva's comms crackled with the last desperate cries of her fleet. They're everywhere. I can't shake them. May God have mercy on us. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any scream. Aegis 7's main cannon, the only weapon capable of breaching a Xythar capital ship's hide, powered up, its barrel glowing with contained fury. It was humanity's last, best hope. Eva's targeting computer locked onto the lead Xythar dreadnought, a mountain of shifting carapace and writhing tentacles. She took a deep breath, the air in her cockpit tasting of ozone and fear. This was it, the final volley. If it missed, it was over for them all. The cannon fired. A beam of pure white light tore through the void, a silent scream of energy. Eva watched, her heart in her throat, as the beam struck the dreadnought dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Xythar ship seemed to shudder, its hide flaring with an angry crimson before it just kept coming. The beam had done nothing. The dreadnought was still advancing, its shadow eclipsing the ruins of Aegis 7. Eva's blood ran cold. They weren't just winning. They were toying with them. The silence after the failed cannon shot was more deafening than any explosion. Eva stared in disbelief as the Xythar dreadnought, seemingly unharmed, unleashed a fresh volley of its corrosive beams. Aegis 7 shuddered, its outer hull disintegrating into molten scrap. Eva's ship Starfire rocked violently, alarms blaring as she narrowly avoided a spray of debris. The Xythar weren't just invulnerable, they were mocking them. Her comms crackled to life, not with despair, but with a new, chilling voice. It was a synthesized sound, a chorus of 1,000 voices speaking in perfect, unison English. Your resistance is illogical. Your species is flawed. We are the great ascendancy. We do not destroy. We consume. Eva's blood ran colder. They weren't just conquering worlds. They were absorbing them, turning conquered species into part of their collective horror. A new signal appeared on her sensors, faint but defiant. It was coming from the planet below, from a hidden research facility called the Star Forge. It was humanity's last resort, a project so secret even most of the fleet didn't know about it. It was a weapon, not of destruction, but of creation. A weapon that could rewrite the very code of life. The voice on the comms returned, its tone now laced with something that sounded like curiosity. We detect a significant energy signature on your primary world. A curious little spark. What are you hiding, little humans? Eva knew she had to get to the Star Forge. She had to be the spark that ignited humanity's final gambit. She pushed the Starfire to its limits, diving towards the planet's atmosphere, the Xythar fleet's shadow looming over her like a descending god. The Starfire screamed through the atmosphere, the G-forces threatening to tear Eva apart. Outside her canopy, the world was a blur of fire and smoke as Xythar landing craft descended like locusts, seeding the planet with their biomechanical horrors. The Star Forge was hidden in the remote wastes of Antarctica, a facility buried deep within a glacier. Eva's HUD guided her through the chaos, weaving between falling debris and strafing Xythar fighters. She finally spotted the entrance, a massive blast door partially concealed by an icefall. She landed the Starfire with a bone-jarring thud, the ship's systems groaning in protest. As she ejected, the Xythar found her. A scout, a creature like a six-legged spider with a single, unblowing red eye, skittered towards her over the ice. Eva raised her pulse rifle, her hands steady despite the adrenaline. She fired, the shots punching through the creature's chitin, but it kept coming, its limbs regrowing even as it bled black ichor. It was too fast, too resilient. She was out of options. The scout lunged, its razor-sharp mandibles poised to strike. Eva braced for the end, but a deafening roar shook the ice. A massive, heavily armored human tank, a relic from a forgotten war, crashed through the glacier wall, its turrets swiveling to fire. The scout was obliterated in a shower of gore. The tank's hatch opened, and a grizzled face stared out. "Commander Rostova, we've been expecting you. Welcome to the end of the world." The inside of the Star Forge was a cathedral of humming machinery and crystalline data towers. The facility's chief, Dr. Eris Thorne, a man whose eyes held the weight of 1,000 failed experiments, greeted Eva with a grim smile. "You're late, Commander. The XY that are already boring into the facility's outer shell." Eva didn't have time for pleasantries. "What is this thing, Thorne? What does it do?" Thorne led her to the central chamber, where a colossal sphere of pulsating light floated in the center, held in place by magnetic fields. "This is the Genesis engine. It doesn't destroy, Eva. It rewrites." He gestured to a holographic display, showing the XY genetic code. "We spent decades studying them. They are a perfect hive mind, but their perfection is their weakness. They share a single consciousness, a single genetic blueprint. The Genesis engine will introduce a paradox, a conceptual virus, a single, unresolvable question that will fracture their collective mind from the inside." Eva stared at the engine, its light casting eerie shadows on her face. "It's a virus of the mind?" "A weapon of philosophy," Thorne corrected. "But it needs a conduit, a pilot to fly the delivery ship." He gestured to a sleek, unarmed vessel docked nearby. "That's the Lance. It's fast, but it has no weapons. You'll have to get through their entire fleet to reach the dreadnought and release the payload." A deafening explosion rocked the facility. The outer shields were failing. Their warriors were breaking through. Eva looked from the Lance to the hordes of aliens pouring into the chamber. "How much time?" Thorne checked a readout. "Long enough for you to die trying, or long enough for you to succeed. The choice is yours." The Lance screamed into space, Eva's knuckles white on the controls. The Star Forge was already being consumed by the XY, its structure being melted and repurposed into their biomechanical horror. Ahead, the XY fleet was a wall of impossible scale, a living fortress that stretched from horizon to horizon. There was no way through, no way to survive. Eva's targeting computer locked onto the dreadnought, the heart of the fleet. The Lance had no weapons, but it had one advantage: speed. She engaged the experimental phase drive, the universe warping around her as she shot forward like a silver needle. The XY ships fired, but she was too fast, weaving through the firestorm with impossible precision. She was a ghost, a phantom in their machine. Closer and closer she came, the dreadnought filling her entire viewport. Its surface was a writhing mass of flesh and metal, and at its center, a pulsating orifice that seemed to be the source of its power. That was her target. Eva braced herself for the impact. She rammed the Lance into the orifice at full speed. The ship crumpled, but the Genesis engine's payload was ejected, a tiny sphere of light that shot deep into the dreadnought's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Eva, thrown from her cockpit, floated in the void, watching her own doom approach. The dreadnought shuddered, then its hide began to split. Not with an explosion, but with a sound, a million screams of agony echoing in the vacuum. The collective mind of the XY was breaking. The ships around her stopped firing, turning on each other, their crews no longer unified. The great ascendancy was fracturing. Eva smiled, the cold of space finally a comfort. She watched as the first XY ships turned on their own, a civil war of cosmic scale erupting from a single, impossible question. Humanity had not won with fire and steel, but with an idea that could not be killed. As she floated amongst the stars, a single thought echoed in her mind. They were not the last of humanity. They were the first of something new.